Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an angel therapy practitioner, Reiki master, and as I like to refer to myself, intuitive astrologer. And I'm here with today with March 2021's Heavenly Horoscopes. I have studied whole sign Western astrology. So for the purposes of this video, it's going to be based on that whole sign tropical or Western astrology, depending upon how you refer to it. And I'm going to go by your sun sign. If you know your rising sign or your moon, I would actually check my rising sign first, then my moon, and then my sun. The reason I focus on the sun for these videos is because it's the easiest thing for you to know. It's your birthday. But the three biggies: the rising sign is how you perceive the world. It's the lens with which how you operate. The moon is your emotions, and the sun is like your personality and what people see about you, how you project yourself out into the world. So if you take those three elements and you listen to all of those, you'll see probably a running theme for the month for you personally. But if you just listen to your sun sign, that's fine as well. Before I get into the individual readings, and what these are they're the angelic advice for traversing the transits. And these obviously are based on the month of March. So I want to start first with the planet Mars. It moved into Gemini on March 3rd or 4th. Today it happens to be the 5th. And in moving into Gemini, we're going to see our everyday activities start to get some traction. Mars likes to move forward. It's innovative. It is independent. It's courageous and pioneering. It can also be the planet that's referred to as war and aggression. So I think what we may see as we move forward in this month is people being very assertive about starting to want to getting their lives moving forward. We've been under tremendous historical situations and experiences over the last year. And as many of you know, we've been a year ago this month, the United States, where I live, and in California, we went into lockdown. So I believe that this month we're going to start to want to open things up. We're going from Pisces season into Aries, which is it's the beginning of the zodiac. So it's like the new year. So this Pisces season is sort of a culmination of this last year's events. So as Mars goes into Gemini, we're going to get excited about moving forward with our everyday activities as well. I mean, our normal may have changed, but we may be perceiving our normal with a little bit more enthusiasm than we used to. You might enjoy driving your kids or picking them up from school and having to sit in the line for a change when it used to be annoying. Anyway, so that's one thing we're going to see is Mars going into Gemini this month. We're going to see forward motion. The other thing that I think is interesting is that we have Neptune making some aspects this month with Venus, the Sun, and Mercury. Neptune represents dreams, imagination, fantasy, spirituality, as well as spirits. It can represent delusion. Sometimes Neptune, it represents Neptune's watery. So sometimes it's hard to see through things and clearly. But this month, as the sun becomes exact with Neptune on the 10th, we're going to start to feel our dreams. We're going to start to, actually, you may experience your actual dream life being more accelerated or more vivid. But I think the things that you're going to want to birth into the world, the revelations that you might have had during the year of 2020, I think now is the time you're really going to want to start to put those dreams and those musings and those aspects into the physical. So we'll see that first start up on the 10th when Neptune meets the sun. Neptune will then meet Venus, I believe it is. Let me check my notes. Yes, Venus will meet Neptune on the new moon on the 13th. So this is just 3 days from when Neptune has had its first and yearly visit with the sun. So here we're going to see Venus, the planet of beauty, of our possessions, of our money, coming together with Neptune and on a new moon. A new moon is the darkest phase of the moon. It's when we're planting our seeds and we're just starting to imagine how they might grow. It's very much an unknown energy because we're taking our actions sort of based on faith or hope that our seeds will grow. So as the sun, or as Neptune and Venus come together, there's going to be a dreamy energy to this new moon. Sort of this, it may feel very sexy to you in some way. You may feel very amorous is a word I want to use. But to me, it's also an opportunity to really dig down deep into what do I want to birth in this new zodiac year as we go into Aries, because then Mercury will become exact. Mercury that rules our everyday events, rules our thinking, writing, teaching, speaking, communicating, will cross over Neptune or be exact with Neptune on the 29th. So Neptune is sitting at 20 degrees and all these planets are traversing by Neptune. So as they do this in this concentrated time, it's really going to be an opportunity for us to really dig down deep and see where we have been in some ways looking through foggy glasses. Have we been in some ways deluding ourselves in the sense of, have I been going to the same source or the same dynamic and expecting something different to happen? This is also the opportunity that will come up in March for everyone as these planets traverse over Neptune. And then as we start to really decipher between what is actually for our benefit and where we have been hoping something was for our benefit, being able to decipher that will give us an opportunity to remove judgment and just say, I was doing the best I could do at the time and with what I knew. So now we're going to prepare as the planets move forward for our dreams to move forward, for the reconstruction of our lives to move forward. I think it's going to feel very, there's a bit of I almost feel like I'm taking a wet blanket off. That's the best way I can put it. There's still going to be some challenging dynamics. The theme of 2021 is Saturn squaring Uranus. And if you've watched one of my videos before, you know that I think of it as a complete renovation. We're going in, we are, demolishing this place down to the studs. We are not necessarily removing the studs or the framing or the foundation of our lives, but we will be rearranging the rooms and maybe opening up the concept of our lives and then redressing it as we move through 2021. Saturn being the framework, the foundation, and Uranus being the new and liberated version of ourselves. These two planets, I've talked about this before, I believe they work in some sort of cooperation. They seem very opposite, but they both rule Aquarius. And Aquarius is the sign of humanitarian, the sign of the collective. It's also the sign of our hopes and dreams. And it is a house that represents an opportunity to make money or to feel the power of our own creation. It's our hopes and dreams house. So I think it's super important to really start to focus in on what it is that we want, and where we have inadvertently been banking on something that may not have been as solid as we thought it was. Okay, so that's the three planets that are going to cross over Neptune. Neptune is going to stay in Pisces for another, I don't even know how many years. It's a very slow moving planet. Then we have Mercury moving into Pisces on the 15th of March. And Mercury is the planet of communications, everyday activities, and it's going to move into the dreamy sign of Pisces. So in some ways, this is really going to amplify, as we talked about, Mercury crossing over Neptune. Neptune rules Pisces. So it's really going to give us all an opportunity to look at how we've been thinking, where we've been focusing, and if indeed it is moving us towards what we want to experience. Next we have Venus, the planet of love, moving into Aries on the 21st. While she's leaving her best friend's house, she doesn't mind being in Aries. You know, Aries is ruled by Mars. So in some ways, she may have a tete-a-tete with her lover. I'm not quite sure. But we also have on the 21st, Mars trining Saturn. Mars is the planet of aggression. We talked about this earlier, the planet of war, assertion, independence, courage, and pioneering. And it's going to be making a favorable aspect with Saturn. So this is sort of a dynamic where, as we've been contemplating what we want to birth in the form of our dreams, the things we want to experience on the planet, now we're going to have this sort of cooperative energy between putting the gas on, Mars, and putting the brake on, Saturn. And rather than fighting with one another, they're going to be cooperative in their movement forward. We do have a challenging aspect on the 23rd of March. Mercury will make its third and final square to Mars. We had Mercury going forward through Aquarius, then it was going backwards through Aquarius, and then it started going forward again. And as it did that, it made a square to Mars in Taurus. So this was very challenging because Mercury rules our neighborhoods, our communities, and these, I don't remember the exact dates. It happened in January and February, but it was close to the Capitol incident and the impeachments trials as it was traversing through Aquarius. So now as we have this third and final pass of this square, which is a tense aspect, it's actually can be very favorable because sometimes tension actually motivates us to move. When things are comfortable, we tend to not to, well, I'll do that tomorrow. You know, I've noticed personally for myself, and one of the reasons this video is coming out on March 5th is because I've been challenged between this starting to feel good physically and then reverting to old habits that don't really serve me, and then reverting back to my physical being feeling off. So I kind of feel like this is a little bit what's happening with this Saturn-Mars square is it's trying to get us to move forward and take diligent action, but towards what we want. That's the favorable aspect. And then, oh, I'm sorry, I just messed that up. I want to go back to Mercury and the final square with Mars, because where I was trying to say, and I apologize for getting myself messed up there, is tension sometimes works for us. Sometimes when things are too easy, that's where I was trying to say when I feel good, I'm not invested in doing a detox. I'm not invested in giving up my coffee. But when I'm not feeling good, I'm very invested in doing that. So as Mercury that rules our everyday events makes this final square to Mars in Taurus. And I think it's funny because Taurus rules food, and that's part of the thing. I got to get off dairy. Anyway, I digress. This aspect we could see in our communities, people having assertiveness, being a little bit more impatient. We could see that some of the, the whole year's theme with Uranus squaring Saturn is a renovation of how we do things to build on the old. It's not about throwing the old out. So to me, this square, as Mercury is making its final pass through Aquarius, is really asking you if the actions you're taking, if the thoughts you're thinking, if the things you're reading, if the things you're speaking are working for you. If not, it's time to assert yourself in a new direction. Okay. Then we have the full moon on the 28th in Libra. And my intention is to do another video on the full moon, so I'm going to skirt right over that. And then that's pretty much the end of the astrological dynamics, because on the 29th is when Mercury makes its exact Passover Neptune. That's going to be that Sun, Venus, Neptune thing I'm talking about. I'm sorry I'm being so choppy today. Maybe I'm choppy all the time. I don't know. But anyway, so this is a very, very good month overall. We're still going to see tensions as we recalibrate ourselves, as we adjust to a new normal for each of us. And when I say a new normal, I think it's really the new normal is about us choosing versus just sort of taking actions based on what we think is expected of us or what we think we're supposed to do. So now what I'm going to do is go into each sun sign, starting with Aries, and do an angelic spread for you. And the angels are giving you their advice for the month and how to best take advantage of all these opportunities and transits. So here we go, Aries. Our first angel is Fiona. The second is Isaiah. The third is Archangel Uriel. And the final is Chantal. Now, for those of you that are Aries sun, you are Mars is your ruling planet. Now, the ruler of your zodiac sign or your birth chart, I'm sorry, is your rising sign. So whatever planet rules your rising sign, I happen to be an Aries rising, so Mars rules my chart. But for the purposes of this video, Mars rules Aries. And so this is something I want you to pay attention to because it's about courage. It's about pioneering spirit. It's about moving the story forward. All right, here we go. We have Fiona being joined by the Lady of the Lake. We have Isaiah being joined by the Fire Fairy. We have Archangel Uriel being joined by the Wasp. And we have Chantal being joined by the Grail Knight. Okay, so Fiona says, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving help, that you deserve heaven's help and guidance. And then there's the Lady of the Lake, asking you to have courage, self-respect, take responsibility, and to speak your absolute truth. To me, when I look at this, in many ways, the Lady of the Lake is standing firm within the storm. She doesn't have an aggressive posture, actually. She seems rather stoic and determined and unwavering during the storm. The water here represents my emotions. We can see the wind is flying, and she holds Excalibur, the sword of truth. So as Mars, that rules Aries, moves into Gemini, which it already is, this is March 5th, so it did the last couple of days, you may find yourself feeling more assertive and more impatient than you've been. And now I think in the opportunity of the obstacle, Spirit is asking you to give birth to new ideas and new situations. And this is, the Fire Fairy is about optimism. It's about being positive. It's about creative action. And I want to say it this way. I think that this is an opportunity for Aries to start to think about how their assertiveness lands on others, because in the angel's advice, we have Archangel Uriel and the Wasp. And this is very challenging because Aries may be feeling thwarted. You may be reaching the end of your rope as far as not being able to move your story forward, not being able to get out and do what you want to do, or feeling like your independence has been clipped. And I want to say this as well, because this is the Archangel Uriel is helping you to understand how anger works for you sometimes, and how it can also, with too much focus on the anger, actually pull you under. So anger can be like almost like a bit of an explosion, like the Fire Fairy, the spark of action. Now, once you've taken this spark of action, there is a process to it. And I feel like this is what Spirit is talking about for Aries, is to not be impatient with the process, because you're going to be implementing new creative ideas. And a lot of those ideas, I think, have to do with, it almost feels like a rapid fire kind of idea, where you may have many ideas and some of them may be all focused on one project, and other people may be more systematic, or there may be systems that slow you down a little bit. That's where I think you may get frustrated. But this is what I want to say or not what I want to say, but overall, and I don't know why I'm not going to romance, because this is very much romance combination. But I want to say this for my Aries. I think this is actually about falling in love with yourself, as you have the Grail Knight represents romance, seeking the sacred, and a delusion or illusion. And one of the things in the themes that's going to happen this month is the removal of illusions, that ways of thinking that aren't serving, ways of, if you've experienced a dynamic over and over again in one way, then it starts to pay attention to that way, because that's the truth. And you may, on some level, been thinking, oh, this is just temporary. This is just temporary. Because as you have the courage to step into a deeper truth, and it may not be a truth you enjoy, then I think it will spawn new ideas, new opportunities. You will calm down as far as feeling frustrated. And honestly, the Wasp is a very challenging energy. And I think you'll find a renewed sense of passion as you let go of any of the illusions, or you reconcile those illusions. If there was, and because I don't want you to judge yourself, if for some reason, you kept hoping somebody would call, or somebody would, I don't quite know how to describe the scenario. I just feel like there's a little bit of sense of false hope. And as that false hope is removed, rather than pulling yourself under and getting angry, you have an opportunity to move in a whole new direction that will open up feelings of value within yourself, feelings of connection to others. I really feel like, spring is when love is in the air. So I think this is about Aries loving themselves a little bit more, which then will probably attract love from the outside world as well. All right, let's go on to our Tauruses. Now, for the sake of these videos, I'm focusing on the sun sign, but if you know your rising sign and your moon, I would check the rising first, the moon second, and the sun third, actually. All right, excuse me while I get my lucky cup. This is Lucky's birthday this month. I don't know if you can see him. He's under my desk right over there. All right, here we go, Taurus. Our first angel for Taurus is Layla. The second is Athena. The third is Rosetta. And the final is Bridget. Right. Layla is being joined by the restriction card. Athena is being joined by the butterfly. Rosetta is being joined by the fire fairy. And Bridget is being joined by the dog. Well, this is very interesting for Taurus. Taurus is what they call a fixed sign. And being a fixed sign, Taurus tends to find a way of being and stick to what they know. They don't mind change, but it comes slowly for Taurus. So I want to offer it this way. Layla says to spend time in nature, talking about your intentions and your desires. And then there's the restriction card. And I believe that what Spirit is saying for Taurus is, you may think there's something you want initially. You may have an initial concept, I want this. And I think Spirit is asking you to take a pause and to reconsider what it is you really want. And rather than assigning it to a situation, a person, or a physical dynamic, start to look at the characteristics of the dynamic that you want to experience, because Taurus has been going through a transformation, as we all have, but we have Uranus going through Taurus. And for many of you early born Tauruses, you've been feeling Uranus as it's been going forward. It just went backwards, and it's already going forward again. So that again, this is 3 passes. Whenever a planet goes retrograde, it has made forward motion, then it makes backward motion, and then forward motion again. Any planets that are near that planet, conjunct, or in opposition or square, will be affected by that transit. So for Taurus, you've had these unexpected, sometimes jarring, sometimes make you nervous as all get up, transformation that you've been going through. But now Athena is asking you to lovingly assert yourself to the deeper levels of what you want and what you discover when you ask yourself, not the first time, but the second time, what do I really want? So sometimes people think, oh, I want to be with that person. And they just get fixated on the person and not how the person lands on them, how the person shows up, if the relationship is actually a happy relationship. So what I believe Spirit is saying for Taurus is to focus on the conditions that you want to experience, because it's time for Taurus to have a childlike innocence and to start to have optimism and creativity about this transformation. You're, I don't care how old you are chronologically on the planet, you are a soul that is evolving, and there is a child within you. And as you allow for that childlike naivete to dream, that's a big theme about this month, looking at how the sun and Venus and Mercury are going to all become exact with Neptune, the planet of dreams, imaginations, and fantasy. Really giving yourself an opportunity this month to look deeper into how you feel loved. I really think that this is a moment where Taurus may be inadvertently looking at what is available to them, and what you really want you can't see with your physical eyes. So this spending a little more time with Spirit, and not in a feeling stuck way, but rather in an appreciative way, that they have their eye on you. They're keeping your bigger version of happiness and holding space for that as you go through this transformation. This is your opportunity and or your obstacle. And in the angel's advice, the fire fairy is not about a manifestation yet. It's about the beginning of a manifestation. It's akin to the Queen of Wands, where you put the seed in, and that little stalk that's come up is not quite that ear of corn yet, but you can see where it's headed. And that's what this is about. Because Bridget is saying, look much deeper. Allow yourself the privilege of the illumination rather than being stuck and fixed in your thought process, because there's more love, more loyalty, more sincerity coming when you in some ways anchor into that idea. All right, let's go on to Gemini. If you can hear all the background noise, I apologize. I live in the noisiest place on earth right now. Beeping, construction, music playing, neighbors. All right, Gemini. Gemini, third house rules neighborhoods. Whoops. All right, let's see what's up for Gemini this month. We have Merlina in the foundational position. We have Omega in the opportunity or the obstacle. We have Ariel in the angel's advice. And then we have Isabella in the final position. I sincerely hope you cannot hear that outside noise. I have all the windows closed. All right, Gemini, joining Merlina is the water fairy. Joining Omega is the mystery card. Joining Ariel is the focus card. And joining Isabella is the queen. Okay, Gemini, first thing I want to say is Merlina is saying that you're confused and indecisive because you don't have enough information and you need to seek out expert help. And Spirit is saying that expert help comes from your feelings, comes from your emotions, comes from your intuitions, and not the fear-based intuitions, the trepidation, the concern, but rather underneath that. Because I say that because in your opportunity and or your obstacle is the mystery card, and the mystery card represents choice. It is where the human has free will. There is nothing there's no one actually driving you to any destination. It's through your thoughts and your focus and what you believe about yourself that you experience. So here you have victory as you make choices and you realize and connect, here we go, in the angel's advice, with your spiritual guides and tell them and give them your focus from your heart. You know, in some ways, Gemini being an air sign and being represented by the twins, there is this sort of feeling of being able to look at things from many sides, to seeing the duplicity in things. And I feel like now is a time for Gemini. Yes, the timing is right for this new venture. A happy outcome follows, Isabella says, follows your positive expectation. And then there's the Queen. And the Queen is about reception. The Queen is about understanding the feminine is not pushing out, but inviting in. So for my Geminis, for the month of March, as we go through these astrological dynamics, and Venus is still in Pisces for a good half of this month, Venus in Pisces is like being at her best friend's house. It's like the girls hanging out, having a good time together, talking about facials and massages. And so as you give life to the idea that your intuitive body is connected to your emotional body, and you decide that rather than trying to seek out outside information, outside validation, because it may inadvertently confirm what you fear. And now is a time to make your own choice. You will be victorious as you make your own choice. And as you make that choice, you're aware of your focus and how much you're worrying and how much you have faith. And the connection to spirit is going to help you to manifest what it is you want to. And if that is the feeling of being the queen or king in your own life, this is highly possible because Isabella offers it to you. All right, let's go on to our Cancers. So now my neighbor's going off with her music. God, I can't get a quiet moment. Where's my focus? Okay. All right, Cancer. This is on for Cancer Sun and Rising and Moon. If you happen to know your Rising and Moon, you want to check those as well. Right. Our first angel for Cancer is Archangel Michael. The second is Ariel. The third is Merlina. And the final is Oceana. Joining Archangel Michael in the foundational position is the Disruption card. Joining Ariel is the Risk card. Joining Merlina is the Letting Go card. And joining Oceana is the Earth Fairy. All right, for my Cancers, the first thing I want to say is that Archangel Michael talks about asking you to have courage to make the life changes that move you towards your life's divine purpose. And that is a purpose your soul has wanted to experience. And Cancer represents family. It represents the home, represents property, represents our intuitions, the mother dynamic. And I believe that on some level, as Cancer is courageous to move towards their divine life's purpose, they may feel disruption. They may have concerns that other people will not be happy with the decisions they've made, but it's time to take a risk. This is your opportunity and or your obstacle, and to connect with spirit about that risk, because I absolutely believe in the law of attraction, and the law of attraction is not as potent if we're not aware of the law of allowing, because we can attract in what we want, but are we brave enough to walk through the opportunity? Are we courageous enough to even see it? Because that's the risk that Cancer is going to have to take. Spirit will bring you an opportunity. And I say that because in this position, the angel's advice, I have Merlina and the Letting Go card. And Merlina says you're confused and indecisive. You don't have enough information. And I don't think that's true. I think what they're saying is don't be confused and indecisive, because the Letting Go card for me is the song Let It Go from Frozen. It's funny how some distance makes everything look small, and the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. It's time to see what I can do to test the limits, to break through. No right, no wrong, no rules for me. I'm free. It's time to risk being free, Cancer. And it's time to truly connect with spirit with what you want versus what you think you can have. Because in the final position is Oceana, telling you to lovingly assert yourself. And literally Oceana is you. You're Cancer. You rule the oceans. And it's time to swim up through your emotions. Allow yourself to be illuminated. The whale represents the soul's destiny. And this is a sky scene behind her, looking to the stars, because the Earth Fairy offers you a new foundation, offers you new grounding after the disruption. And it's going to be on a whole new plane. And one of the themes of this year, 2021, is the Saturn-Uranus square. It will be exact 3 times this year. It is the Saturn representing the old structure, Uranus representing new and innovative structures, and the two are coming together. While it seems in a tense aspect, it's actually very cooperative, because it's going to motivate you, whoever you are, regardless whether you're Cancer, to push yourselves towards what you want. Uranus is a liberating planet, and sometimes it creates little bits of lightning and explosions in order for that to happen. So now it's time to be courageous, because if you hold yourself back because other people don't have fear about your movement forward, you'll never be able to truly help them or take them with you. All right, let's go on to our Leos before my neighbor turns her music up again. I guess my focus isn't very good when it comes to my neighbors and their noisiness. Okay, Leo, here we go. Our first angel for Leo is Archangel Michael. The second is Adriana. The third is Archangel Raphael. And the final is Francesca. All right. The risk card is joining Archangel Michael. Adriana is being joined by the Earth Fairy. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the Love card. And Francesca is being joined by the Burden card. All right. This is what I want to say. For my Leo sons, Archangel Michael is the great protector. And in this particular case, he's asking you to have the courage to make the life changes that move you towards your divine life's purpose towards the things of your heart. And here we have the risk card. So I believe that what he's asking you to do is really contemplate, rather than the risk of moving forward. I think what he's asking you to do is contemplate the risk of not moving forward. How will you feel 2 years from now, 3 years from now, or 4, 5, 10, if indeed you don't allow yourself to have the courage to move towards your divine life's purpose, towards the yearnings of your heart? There is no yearning of your heart that cannot be manifested when you're aligned to it, when you're aligned to the excitement of it, not the challenge. Because Adriana says she's leading you to the answers to your prayers, to your dreams, your intuitions, and your thoughts, and offering you a whole new beginning, a new platform, a new foundation, a new ground to stand on. And it's something you will love, Leo. You will love it. It will be the healing of your heart. You'll understand why you had to walk that jagged path, because you had to find the courage to roar, to say, I'm the king of the beasts and I'm going to claim what I want. Because right now, it's not easy for you. You're having a hard time visualizing what you want. Negativity is seeping in and you're sick of it. And I feel like part of that is because you're focused in on the road. How will I get there? What turns will I take? What speed bumps will I have to go over? Who's going to stop me and give me a ticket? Nobody will. It's time to call upon Archangel Michael, not just to give you the courage, but also the protection, to trust your heart as you move forward, and to allow yourself to believe something that you have yet to experience. And as you believe it, it will start to show itself. All right, let's go on to our Virgos. Oops. Take a quick sip of my tea. This is my March cup, my lucky cup for Lucky's birthday this month. All right, here we go. Virgo. Virgo sun. And if you know your rising sign and your moon, I would check rising first, moon second, and sun third. Let's give this a good shuffle. All right. We have Caressa in the foundational position, Desiree in the opportunity or the obstacle, Rochelle in the angel's advice, and Bridget in the final position. All right, Virgo. Joining Caressa is the focus card. Joining Desiree is the forgiveness card. Joining Rochelle is the disruption card. And joining Bridget is the truth. This month, there's a big theme of 3 planets will be crossing over Neptune. We have the sun first will make its yearly sojourn and visit with Neptune in Pisces. We have Venus and Mercury. And as they traverse over Neptune, Neptune represents dreams, imagination, spirituality. It also represents spirits. It represents illusion, conspiracy, things hidden. So I feel like when I look at this for Virgo, there's going to be the end of a life cycle as represented by Caressa, but new happiness awaits you. And I believe that part of that is your focus. And I want to say it because Virgo represents the sign of perfection. A lot of people will call it perfection. And yet Spirit has shown it to me as the Virgin is purity, and the purity is not in the perfection of execution, but the perfection of the journey, the perfection of the flaws within the journey, the falling down and getting up. Are you going to judge yourself? Are you going to say, I'm not good enough? Because that can happen. That's the shadow side of Virgo. Because in the final, or not, sorry, the final, in the opportunity or the obstacle is the forgiveness card and Desiree, saying that conditions aren't favorable right now. And I want to offer it this way. They may not be favorable because as a Virgo, you're starting to realize that your sense of, you could be extra critical on yourself. You could be expecting too much perfection from yourself. You could be working so hard that you're actually depleting yourself. And I feel like it's time to start to really look at where your focus has been, because it will somehow bring you to some sort of revelation, some sort of epiphany. And then I believe for Virgo, what you're going to do, or what the angels want you to do, is come from your heart. And that's going to feel very disruptive, because you're used to coming, you're ruled by Mercury. You're ruled by the planet of thinking, the planet that rules our everyday activities, rules learning, schooling, teaching, all from the physical plane. Virgo's an earth sign, ruled by air, which is interesting. So it's the thoughts being grounded. So now in the final position for Virgo is Bridget, asking you to look deeper for your own truth, and then to focus in on that truth. If indeed Virgo has been experiencing any issues, Virgo also rules pets. It rules our work environment. It rules our health. If indeed you've been having any challenges in any one of those areas, I feel like part of this dynamic of this month is to allow yourself to remove the illusions, to remove the rose-colored glasses, and to not judge or criticize what you see when you remove those glasses, but rather see the purity of the human existence as being fabulously flawed. And then give yourself permission to forgive yourself for whatever you lack in perfection, and get back on the road of your dreams. All right, let's go on to our Libras. All right, Libra, our first angel is Indriel. The second is Mystique. The third is Xana. And the final is Rochelle. That's lovely. All right, joining Indriel is the dog. Joining Mystique is the wind fairy. Joining Xana is the protection card. Wow. And joining Rochelle is the Baird. All right, so for my Libras, the dog represents unconditional love, loyalty, and sincerity, and Indriel represents the light worker energy, and saying that God needs you to shine your light and your love upon this world. When I look at this, I don't necessarily feel like it's about intimate love. It feels very much like it's about something bigger. It feels like it's about the idea of love in general. I feel like we've gone through such a hard time in isolation, in conflict, when we have, racial issues and things like that. It's just a really rough time. And I feel like Libra craves for humanity to be humanity, to have humanity for others. And so what I want to say for Libra is that that's coming. The wind fairy is about thoughts and about analysis. And then Mystique is about a process of miracles. And miracles are alignment to source energy. It's where your belief, your attitude, your actions, your thoughts are all aligned to what you want. And therefore you're triggering the laws of the universe to bring it to you. Because this is to me, the theme of 2021 with Saturn squaring Uranus is sort of this conflict that brings us to a place of wanting to be more kind and more loving. It's almost like we reach a crescendo of anger or a crescendo of imbalance, because for Libra, Xana is the angel of protection, and there's the protection card. The angels have you. And I want to say it this way. I think what they're protecting is not your physical being, but your heart getting disillusioned or feeling defeated, that the world is just going to go to hell in a handbasket and it's not going to stop. But I don't believe that's true, because I believe what Spirit is saying for Libra, as you honor and follow the guidance of your heart, prosperity is coming. And then now the Baird rewrites history and starts with the enchantment of storytelling. The enchantment of storytelling about how this disruption brought me to more authentic levels of sincerity with what I want to not only experience, but how I want to show up. And then that sends out the ripple effect. So oftentimes Libra in the shadow side of Libra can be passive aggressive. It cannot want to have conflict and be indecisive. And so it'll kind of skirt around things. And I feel like that this month, that the ideas that Neptune making all these conversations with these planets is going to remove some of that, or give us an opportunity to remove the illusions and then step into the true dream. And I think for Libra, what that true dream is to be able to express yourself for all that you are, because the light worker comes in many forms. It comes in the form of healthcare workers. It comes in the form of spiritual teachers, priests. It comes in the form of the checker at your market. So as you start to see the world through those eyes, through the eyes of where we're evolving into a more win-win dynamic within our culture overall, the whole planet, I think you're going to start to experience some of that this month. Again, this is where we start to move things forward. All the planets are moving forward. Some of the harsher aspects we experienced over the last 2.5 years have moved out. They're not having as tense conversations anymore, meaning the planets. All right, let's go on to our Scorpios. Scorpio. Our first angel for Scorpio is Rochelle. Then we have Rosetta in the opportunity or the obstacle. We have Crystal in the angel's advice, and we have Sonia in the final position. Rochelle is being joined by the communications card. Rosetta is being joined by the deer. Crystal's being joined by the perception card, and Sonia's being joined by the hawk. All right, for my Scorpios, you're ruled by, well, Scorpio, I don't want to say ruled by, because your rising sign is what your natal chart is really ruled by, but for the intents and purposes of this video, the Scorpio is ruled by Pluto in modern times and Mars in ancient times. And I say that because Pluto likes to dig deep. It likes to reinvent in the form of decay, death, and rebirth. And sometimes that feels a little bit jarring. And I feel like when I look at this for Scorpio, you have been experiencing those jarring dynamics for quite some time. And now while Pluto is still having some conversations, they're not quite as, and in doing so now, you have discovered more about what it is you really want for your heart. A lot of what you thought you wanted from your heart has been stripped away over the last 2 years. And now I believe that this communications card, coupled with Rochelle asking you to honor and follow the guidance of your heart, tells me you're ready to. Tells me you're ready to start to talk to yourself in ways that promote the experiences you want to have versus what you have been having. Because I really believe that the deer here is not about fear, but rather gentleness and diplomacy as you allow your inner child who has not been dinged by this world yet, that is still believes in magic. As you allow for that, things are going to shift as you're gentle with yourself and you notice your communication. It isn't about being perfect. It's about just being aware. Does this thought serve me? Does this thing I'm saying serve me? Because in the angel's advice, I believe that your perceptions are going to come from a new place. And this is from faith and hope and in what you can't see. Pluto rules what you can't see, rules plumbing. It rules things that are in the dark underneath. So as you think about that, the opportunity is to look at from a more spiritual place how whatever has decayed in your life is because there is new life being birthed through that. And what decayed has turned into something that nurtures the new. Because you have a very strong team around you right now, Scorpio. I could say this is a deceased loved one, but with talking to so many people, I think of this as my heavenly team. And now they're giving you signs and omens that things are changing, and they're changing in a way that is going to honor what you truly want from your heart. And now is a time to capitalize on that by being aware of any of the old patterns that you have that haven't served you. And I say that in such a way where if you know that, I'm just going to say this example. Let's say, you when you want to reach out to a certain person, they're always going to have the warrior attitude or the negative attitude or the Debbie Downer attitude. Do you want to call them this time? Or are you already aware of how they'll show up? And rather than villainizing them, just being aware of it and allowing yourself to move a little bit this way so that you start to communicate in a way that serves you in a much more influential way. Because our thoughts are things. And when they start coming out of our mouth, they start to create attraction that draws the law of attraction in. I start to say they create a magnet. All right, let's go on to our Sagittariuses. Our first angel for Sagittarius is Xana, the angel of protection. The second is Adriana. The third is Layla. And the final is Seraphina. Xana is being joined by the Love card. Adriana is being joined by the Death card. Layla is being joined by the Cow. And Seraphina is being joined by Merlin. Okay, Sagittarius. Xana is the angel of protection. And I really think that when she talks about protection, it's about emotional protection. She asks you to feel safe, that the worst is behind you. And then here is the Love card. And I want to say this. I don't think that this is walking around like, oh, kumbaya, everybody, you know, peace, love, and whatever. But I do think what this is that we are moving into a chapter. I talked about March, all the planets starting to move forward, this feeling of forward motion. In the middle of the month, we're going to go into the Aries season, the beginning of spring for us on March 20th. So I feel like moving forward, Sagittarius is going to be sort of in the mood to experience love, but I think it's a more of a universal love. The things you love, the people you love, the foods you love, the drinks you love, everything you love. Because when I look at the opportunity and or the obstacle, I see the Death card, and then I see Adriana saying that she's leading me towards the answers to my prayers, through my dreams, my intuitions. And this is really a transformation. And this to me is, you know, I absolutely believe that the last 2.5 years, 2018, 19, and 20, that's 3 years, really started to strip things away for people to illuminate what was most important. And 2020 really brought that to a head. So in the angel's advice, that's where the Death card comes in. Believe it or not, all this disruption is bringing you closer to what you want. And now Spirit is saying, focus on it. Tell us what your desires are, because we're ready to deliver. This is abundance, nourishment, asking and receiving. And in my 61 years of life, because yep, I'm 61 years old, I have found that oftentimes disruption was the doorway to my dreams, that things I couldn't see how they would play out, Spirit took care of that. So I've learned how to surrender to the closing of a chapter, to a death, because I know that there's something bigger coming. And when I'm confused or when I'm fearful, I speak to Spirit. Thank you for giving me evidence of what it is that is coming through that's going to transform my life, because for my Sagittarius, a happy change is coming to your family. And Merlin represents balance, justice, and alchemy. So it feels very much like something is coming in the way of love. Some of you may get engaged. Some of you may actually tie the knot. Some of you may start having babies. And some of you may start to really claim dynamics within your profession, within your creativity that you want to birth forward. We have Neptune making these aspects. I spoke in the beginning of the video. And Neptune is the planet of fantasy. It represents the movies. It represents dreams and intuitions and storytelling in some way, storytelling through the visual. So I feel like the story that you have been telling about what you want to experience, Spirit has been hearing you. And so as things have broken away, it's opened a door for new experiences to come through that are much more aligned to where you want to be and to move your story forward, both personally and very much so professionally. All right, let's go on to our Capricorns, our Cappies. You must be so happy that all those planets, well, Pluto's still going to be in your house for a while, but no more arguing with all those other planets like Saturn and Jupiter and Mars and God knows who else was drifting in and out of the party. All right, here we go, Capricorn. Our first angel in the foundational position is Indriel. In the opportunity or the obstacle is Astera. In the angel's advice is Yvonne, And the final position is Grace and Antoinette. Sip, sorry. All right. Joining Indriel is the High Priestess. Joining Astera is the Horse. Joining Yvonne is the Fear card. And joining Grace and Antoinette is the Focus card. Indriel is the Lightworker card. She talks about God wanting you to shine your light on earth and its inhabitants. And then here's the High Priestess, which is about prophecy, vision. And in some ways, it's about discernment. You know, it's about discernment is a higher vibration of judgment. It is being able to look at a situation and not villainize it, but just determine whether or not it really works for you. And I feel like that this is super important for Capricorn this month, because this is the ultimate transition you've been going through. Going from, you know, your ruling planet, Capricorn, is Saturn. And it's squaring Uranus for most of this year. It'll be exact three times. And so to me, this is very much, Capricorn's been going through a very huge transformation where instead of feeling this stoic, dutiful, almost depressed energy at having to do things, you're starting to focus in on where you want to experience things and then using that beautiful Capricorn energy to move the story forward. Because in the angel's advice, in the opportunity of the obstacle is Astera saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires and not to compromise. And then the Horse to me is moving in a new direction. And to me, this is the Horse is moving towards my dreams and desires. And I feel like for my Capricorns in the past, you've been very wanting to see the road ahead, wanting to sort of know what the landscape is. And now I think you become more vulnerable to fear, but not in a negative way, in a way that allows me to discern whether that's false evidence appearing real. Because now it's time in a little bit to, when I say a little bit, I mean the whole month of March and moving forward this year into 2021 is being vulnerable to your deeper truth, which may instill fear. Saturn rules fear. And now is that time to truly determine whether that fear is viable, that fear is your own, or it's fear someone else has imposed upon you because you feel that you are duty bound to a certain situation. Because as you move towards the vision of what you want and you start to discern from your higher self, you will discover that you're going to require compassion for yourself. As you focus in a new direction, it's going to be foreign to other people. They may be very surprised at how you've started to show up. They may have gotten used to you being a certain way, and now there's a part of you that is tapping into a whole new energy. And that whole new energy is more aligned to the joy, and then willing to take your ability as a Capricorn, as a goat, to traverse that mountain in a way that actually brings you joy. For the last year or so, Spirit has shown me that we've been transforming the goat from the old goat eating the tin can to the baby goat that jumps around joyously. You can't watch a baby goat and not laugh or feel good about it. So I really want to give life to the idea that this is starting for you now. Capricorn, you still have some transitions to go through. There's still renovations to your thought process and your actions, as there are for all of us. But I sense that as March moves forward and as 2021 moves forward, you'll be feeling much more aligned to your deeper truth and joy. All right, let's go on to our Aquariuses, where there's so much happening in Aquarius. I should be singing the Age of Aquarius instead. But I don't know if it makes sense, because it says when the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars. When Jupiter aligned with Mars, we had toilet paper gate. Okay, I'm laughing. I'm teasing. All right, here we go. Aquarius. That's Aquarius suns. And if you know your rising sign or your moon and you're either of those or Aquarius, be sure to listen. All right, here we go. Aquarius, our first angel is Sonia. Our second is Maya. The third is Layla. And the final is Crystal. You know, I don't talk about this very much, and I don't know why, but I've been watching, I watch a lot of reality television, and I started off watching The Dog Whisperer years ago. And I've noticed this trend on television about people talking about energy, you know, and I feel like as I'm plugging into Aquarius, where I feel like we're starting to really kick into that Uranian energy where we're innovating. We're looking at things from a whole new way. I didn't know this. I started watching Nova on PBS, and Uranus actually is weird. Most planets, you know, they revolve like this. Well, Uranus is this way. I can't even say it vertical. It's like it's on its side. Like it got knocked by some big asteroid or some big meteor or something. And it literally goes the other way, which I guess is why Uranus is always thought of as being so different and unusual. So Sonia's being joined by the Forgiveness card. Maya's being joined by Merlin. Layla is being joined by the Love card. And Crystal's being joined by the Owl. I say that about Uranus because I want Aquarius to know you're an innovator. You know, you're the kind of person who goes out and takes an idea and then reworks it and brings it into the future. It's a futuristic thing. So this is where I'm going with this, because as in the foundational position, we have Sonia and the Forgiveness card. And I really think that this to me is so interesting because it kind of, when I look at Sonia, I oftentimes will think of it as my team, my heavenly team, my guides, my angels. And then I'll think of it as a deceased loved one. But I think that this represents a concept. For some reason, to me, when I look at Aquarius, I feel like it is the connection to the angelic realm. It is the connection to your deceased loved ones. It's the belief in aliens. It's the belief in that there's life in other places other than just the earth. Because I feel like you are in some ways leading the charge for our revolution from where we've been. So with the Forgiveness card here, it's almost as if Aquarius this month starts to really connect with the idea of, you know what, I don't mind being so different. I don't mind thinking about different things because it brings me comfort. And I actually, from my heart, know that it's true. And I say it, and it's going to sound so weird, but there's Merlin and the Schooling card. And I feel like this has more to do with Aquarius owning who they are, experiencing the benefit of it, and actually learning from that in such a way that brings them even closer to their team on the other side. And this is more about capitalizing on love, on what I love, on the idea that I actually love being slightly different, thinking different, being a little bit what they call quirky, you know, because Crystal is saying have faith and hope, there's more on the horizon. And this feels like the what's on the horizon is being able to cut through what has been given to me, what's a herd mentality, what is restricting me, and what moves me forward. And it feels like that there's also going to be for Aquarius, you know, we talked about the idea that the Sun, Venus, and Mercury are all going to make an exact degree at 20 degrees with Neptune this month. And I feel like Neptune is a very spiritual planet. It can also be a planet of delusions, illusions, foggy, murky waters, conspiracies. But in this particular case for Aquarius, I think it has more to do with these planets really bringing and anchoring in a deeper knowing that you are connected to something much bigger than yourself. And as you implement and plug into that connection, you start to see the magic happen. And the more you see the magic happen, the more you implement it. And the more you are aligned to what you feel from spirit and in your heart versus what you're being told by other human beings. So to me, this is really kind of a process, because this having faith and hope, there's more on the horizon, is something that you will on some level, you'll know it on the inside, but you won't necessarily see it on the outside just yet. So I want to say, stand your ground. However, whatever it is you believe, not in a warrior way, but in a way that you know you're standing with your team of angels that will then bring the situation into some sort of balance. All right, let's go on to our final sign, Pisces, where Venus has been hanging out. She loves hanging out in Pisces. It's like being at her best friend's house. They light candles and they pour wine and they hang out, talk about luxurious things. Okay, here we go, Pisces. Hold on, got to get this thing going. All right. Our first angel for Pisces is Francesca. The second is Daniel. The third is Archangel Michael. And the final is Bridget. Joining Francesca is the forgiveness card. Joining Daniel is the risk card. Joining Archangel Michael is the letting go card. Joining Bridget is the love card. Okay, Pisces, here we go. I want to say it this way. Francesca asks, what do you visualize? You know, that negativity will block your progress. Negativity, any thought that is repetitive becomes a belief. It isn't necessarily true. It just becomes a belief because of the repetitiveness of it. And when I look at the forgiveness card and I look at Francesca, I feel like Pisces is going to have an opportunity to reconcile where they have been deluding themselves in the fact that you may not have any value. You may think you're unworthy. You may think you're not attractive enough. Not whatever your story is not fair. That's what I want to say, because what I see in the opportunity or the obstacle is Daniel, the angel of marriage, and the risk card. Daniel talks about assisting you in bringing together an intimate partner. But the bigger picture of what Daniel talks about is the history you have in intimacy. Your history in intimacy is what you start to believe, because, oh, this happened to me before, and this happened to me before, and this always happens to me, and now it's time to risk a bigger picture. What if it doesn't happen to me anymore? Because Archangel Michael is asking you to let it go. And when I say that, I mean, actually, for once, I really mean let it go. And it's not easy for me as a Taurus moon to let things go, but I also have to give life to the idea that I've evolved through each one of my relationships, and I'm not the same person I was before. And that's what Spirit is asking you, Pisces, is to have the courage to realize that you're not the same person you were in the previous relationship or the previous relationship or the previous relationship. Because in the final position, we have the love card and we have Bridget. And I really believe that Bridget is asking you to look deeper into wherever you have told yourself a negative story about love. This idea of Neptune, you know, connecting with the sun, and Mercury and Venus has a lot to do with delusions, illusions. And if you have thought you were unworthy, or you've experienced relationships where you felt unworthy, I really want to encourage you to actually look at that other party, and do they have enough influence? Are they that important to really invalidate you? I don't think so. So I want to offer this. I think that the month of March is going to start to move your story forward, and not because you've met somebody else, but because you're starting to really shed the skin of old ideas that don't serve you anymore. Illusions of lack of value, illusions of, you know, not being enough. And as you start to do that, and then you start to concentrate on what really makes me feel loved, I think we're going to start to see some movement. So that's what I have for this month of March for our heavenly horoscopes. Again, my name is Teri Hunter. I'm an angel therapy practitioner, Reiki master, intuitive astrologer, and empowerment coach. If you'd like to book a private session with me, either an angel reading or a coaching session, my information is in the description below. And I'll be back soon. I've been making promises of being back every week, and I've had some issues with my mouth that have had it challenging for me to be able to talk. So I haven't been on time the way I'd like to be. But my intention is to be back next week on Monday with your pick an angel card reading for the week. And then we'll do a new moon video as well, because we have a new moon on the 13th. which is going to be a week from this coming Saturday. So that's it for me. Thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share, tell the world. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. Okay, thanks everybody. Sending love to you. Peace out.